Hey guys, how you doing? I just wanted to pop on here. I was studying for this exam I have to take, and I started thinking about the Bible. So back in 1996, when I first became born again, they used to have this. They used to have this acronym for the Bible. It was called the Believer's Instruction Before Leaving Earth. Made a lot of sense. We don't even talk about that no more. But what made me start thinking about it is when I was listening to the instructor for the course that I was taking, and it was talking about the diagnostic manual that is used in psychology. They consider that the Bible, not the Bible that was written by God, but the Bible that was written by man for the rules and diagnosis and everything for the field of psychology, for the field of psychology. So I was like, well, the Bible is the instructions and the rules and the laws and the precepts that God left us for to follow. And it wasn't an afterthought. It wasn't an afterthought. He didn't say, well, oops, let me know. These principles and laws and precepts are things that operated in heaven, which is what got Satan kicked out because he decided he wanted to throw a coup and be God. He wanted to operate as God. He wanted to break the laws. He wanted to go against the precepts and all of those things that God has set forth. So, as always, I got 2 Timothy 3:16 through 17. And I got it through a couple of translations. So it can pretty much kind of make, and I know I keep looking up like this, that's because after I had the glasses I have on, they're not the right prescription because I don't go back for 2 more weeks to have my eyes re-examined to get my right prescription. But I'm reading the reading glass part so I can see out of that. So I keep looking up like that so I can see. But that's why I keep looking up like that. There's nothing wrong with me. Other than that, I just ordered me some reading glasses so I'll be able to read because basically that's all I need now. But Second Timothy, I can't get Timothy out. 2 Timothy 3:16 through 17 in the New Living Translation says, all scripture is inspired by God and is useful to teach us what is true and to make us realize what is wrong in our lives. It corrects us when we are wrong and teaches us to do what is right. God uses it to prepare and equip his people to do every good work. Now, the New English Translation says every scripture is inspired by God and useful for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness, that the person dedicated to God may be capable and equipped for every good work. The New King James Version says all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in all righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, thoroughly equipped for every good work. I found this translation. I found it to be interesting. It's the New International Reader's Version, and it says, God has breathed life into all scripture. It is useful for teaching us what is true. It is useful for correcting our mistakes. It is useful for making our lives whole again. It is useful for training us to do what is right. It is by using scripture, the servant of God can be completely prepared to do every good thing. And the Amplified Bible, the Classic Edition, I didn't know it was a Classic Edition, but it states every scripture is God breathed, given by his inspiration, and profitable for instruction, for reproof, and conviction of sin, for correction of error, and discipline in obedience, and for training in righteousness, in holy living, in conformity to God's will, in thought, purpose, and action, so that the man of God may be complete and proficient, well fitted, and thoroughly equipped for every good work. So what do you think about that? That we had a creator, take these glasses off, that we had a creator who thought enough about his creation to leave us instruction on what is right and what is pleasing in his eyesight. And how we can, and gave us examples. My favorite example, David. David was a man that God said, a man after his own heart. But David was an interesting human. David took a man's wife, had sex with her. She got pregnant. He, trying to cover up the pregnancy, had the man, Uriah, who was Bathsheba's husband, put on the front line to be killed. Because he didn't want nobody to know what he did. Now, mind you, he was the king. Those who were closest to him knew what he had done. So somebody knew. It wasn't like did nobody know our eyes was closed. It wasn't like that. Someone knew what it was that he had done. So he wasn't covering up. And then God knew what he had done. God sent the prophet Nathan to him, gave him a scenario, and David was like, well, where you at? And then Nathan told him, you that man. You the one that took the man's only sheep, only little sheep that he charged. Like, you the one did it. But the thing about David was he repented. Now, his action created a lot of consequences. Now, let me dispel something, because a lot of people are always under the impression that God just sitting somewhere waiting to zap you, waiting to cause you a whole lot of problems, waiting to do this, that, and the other to you. He is not. Just like gravity, the principle of gravity, what goes up must come down. That's a principle. God wrote principles. And those principles are the consequences. Just like if your mama or your daddy or whatever adult said, well, don't teach you how to, let's say, teach you how to cross the street. Cross the street on when the light is red or the car is to stop. You decide you're going to do contrary and you're going to cross on the green light because you in a hurry. You get hit. Don't get killed. You get hit. You get injured, broken leg, a couple other things. And you can't blame God for that, because the rule was you go on a red light. Now, it's not going to always be a guarantee that somebody's not going to run the red light, but the rule is you cross the street on the red light. And you have to make sure, let me tell you something. So when I was a kid, we lived down off of Orleans and Central Avenue. And I remember the crossing guard telling us how to cross the street. Well, I had to leave home. I was sick and I was sent home early. So back in the 50s and the early 60s, before there was 95 and 895 and all those highways, 40 was the main route. We got the Trailway, Greyhound ride up and down it, 18-wheelers going up and down it. And guess how I crossed the street? I crossed the street on the green light because I didn't understand. That's why God gives us instructions so that we can understand. He does not want us to lack understanding. I understand now that crossing Orleans Street, I could have took myself out. I understood when I got older, but I lacked that understanding. I think about it now, I'm like, oh my goodness. But anyhow, back to 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17. God gives us examples of what to do. He has human beings. These were real people that had real situations, just like us nowadays. They might not have a car. They might not have houses like we did, but they had, watch this, feelings. They had struggles. They had sin. They had all these things that we have now. So God gave us instructions. That Bible is the believer's instructions before leaving earth, because we got to do it here. Because once we leave this earth, this right here, it's over with. It's done. We're not getting back into this flesh, this flesh. We're not getting back in it to get anything right, to get right with God, to get right with man. That's not going to happen. So, with that said, y'all have a good day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.